Say my full name.
Ashkan
Hobian.
Yeah. Ashkan Hobian. I like full names. I'm a full name guy. Always.
I was too.
But
until
high school was trash can.
High school was trash can. Oh, that's not
That's
nice.
good though, man.
But then Ash was Ketchum.
Yeah.
So I didn't.
I think I called you that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to resist that. I don't know any other Ashes.
I get it a lot.
Trash can, like, it sucks, but like it is clever. Like it's a good.
It's also how I like get everyone to say my name now.
Yeah. Ash can, trash can. Yeah.
So you introduced.
Yeah.
You got to flip it and use it. Use it for you.
Ashkan Hobian, welcome to the Gents Talk podcast.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
How are you today?
Good.
Yeah.
A little nervous, but we're good.
Understandable.
Yeah.
Thank you for agreeing to come on. I think it's an uber important topic, and I won't even jump into it. I'll let you take the reins on that based on your comfort level. It's an important topic because I think a lot of men, more men than we know, struggle with it. And a little background context. Ashkan and I were in the Bahamas recently. Sunny Bahamas.
Yeah.
For the Poker Stars PSPC Championship Classic. Could I call it a classic? I don't think classic was in the name.
No, it wasn't.
No. But we got to talking, and during that conversation, you felt comfortable enough sharing with me your story, and I thought it would be important to continue on that conversation from where we left off, but sort of starting from scratch at the same time. And the thing that spawned the idea of bringing you in to have that conversation is the first thing you said to me before you told me the story was, all right, I'm going to tell you something. Don't be weird about it.
Yeah.
And I think that really illuminated how there's still a stigma around this type of conversation. But before we jump right into it, you're a men's lifestyle content creator.
Yes.
You're pretty much an entrepreneur. You do a lot of cool stuff. You're based in Toronto. Take it away. Who else is Ashkan?
Ashkan is a Persian descent. My parents came here when they were like 17. They moved here, had me and my brother. I'm a twin. And yeah, Ashkan as a teenager was very much into the idea of being the next Freddie Mercury. So I dropped out of university to pursue music, and things didn't go as planned. And I stumbled upon like a marketing program within fashion. And we had like a course surrounding content creation. And I don't even think content creation at the time was what it is today, but it like sparked an interest in just like blogging, and it's kind of been what I've been doing since.
Full-time.
Full-time. Yeah. No more making glasses at LensCraft anymore.
Those are nice frames, though, I will
Thanks.
say.
Don't ask me where they're from. I have no idea. I know they're made in Italy, but I don't know what brand they are.
So much for being a content creator.
Yeah. Legit, 3 people asked me today, where are your frames from? I said, I have no idea. I just picked them up.
So you've been a content creator this whole time, which to me means entrepreneur, because you only make anything off of what you're putting out there.
Right.
And you're very much sourcing your own work. You're creating every day. There's no regular paycheck, any of that. That in and of itself is daunting. It's intimidating. Maybe we can start there. How do you how do you work through the ebbs and flows, the ups and downs of being a content creator, being an entrepreneur, going maybe a week or 2 weeks, maybe a month with no pay, and then sort of go from there?
Well, a good example is this year. Like the start of this year, I kind of was like in a position where I was in this fuzzy state of what can I do next? So I actually went back to my old job for the month of January to kind of reconnect with people outside of social media, like just the general public, selling them face creams, or writing my resignation letter on the second day. I was like, what am I doing? But it kind of it sparked something that what I have is a good thing. It's nice to reconnect with people to kind of inspire you in different ways. A lot of what I do when I travel, it's kind of how I get motivated. So the last 3 years was kind of like there was no travel. There was like nothing happening. So for me, it was creating content at home was just like a very difficult and daunting thing. So once we were able to hop on a plane, I was like literally out of here. And
where was the first place you went?
I went very simple. I went to New York. I hadn't seen my friends in 2 years, but just like reconnecting with again, people. That's kind of how I started this whole thing, was because Instagram opened this world where I could meet people outside of Toronto. And as cheesy as it sounds, people inspire me a lot. So just meeting new people, taking their photo, and certain aspects of their life is something that really launched Instagram and content creation for me. So being able to do that, Bahamas also was just another way to reignite some sort of motivation and inspiration, meeting you and meeting that whole team there. It just takes a little bit of real people to kind of reel me back in. Even if I'm not making money, I will go, this was a very clear example. I will go back to my old job. It's not like I look down at it. It's a very hard, retail is not easy.
No,
I do not.
Not at all.
Me writing my resignation letter, I was like, so I was working at Sephora. I was a brand rep for a skincare brand. And being out of that world for 3 years, I'm like, wow, I forgot how much it hurts to stand on your feet for 9 hours. This is painful.
But I also feel like everybody should work either retail or service, just to, because you could tell people that haven't. You've never worked with, you never worked in front of people. You've never done any kind of customer service in your life, because you get a real understanding of so many, because you get to really see people's personalities.
100%. I did Lens Crafters for 10 years.
Yeah.
And then I did Tim Hortons. My brother was my manager. It was awful. And then the Sephora job was something I stumbled upon while this content creation job kind of started picking up for me. So yeah, it's it takes you back and makes you more humble about what you have. And I definitely don't take what I'm doing for granted at all. But yeah, just...
And so it's something that you can see yourself continuing to do.
Yeah, it's definitely also something that I feel has grown. When I started, it was strictly just taking pictures, but I feel as the years progressed, you have learned marketing, you have learned advertising, you have learned photo editing skills. Now you're forced to learn video editing skills. So I feel in some ways, if I choose not to continue with this, it's opened so many other avenues for me. So, but I do like creating, just regardless, paid or not. Creating is how this all started for me. So
yeah, and I want to go towards the conversation that we had.
Yes,
if you're comfortable with
it.
So you shared with me a story from your younger days that, based on our conversation, still plays a profound has a profound impact on who you are today. and how you see the world and the way you interact with people. But it's not my story, so please take it away.
God. Okay.
And take your time.
Yeah, well, I think I was maybe 22, and I had come out at 21. And my brother, his girlfriend at the time, and her brother and I decided we were going to do a trip around Southeast Asia. And at the time, I had never really explored anything within my sexuality, so I was very new to the world of that. And I think I took it upon, I was like, I'm out in the world by myself. It's time to experiment. I haven't experimented all throughout my schoolings. Like every story I've heard about, like people dating in high school, college, like it never happened for me. So I was like, let me take this opportunity to really just put myself out there and just meet other people from the world and just meet people. Again, meeting people is the theme for me. Unfortunately, I met the wrong person and was taken advantage of sexually. So that was kind of something that happened, and it happened, and I blocked it off. And I think when I turned 30, it kind of reignited. And throughout my 20s, like I was 22 when it happened, and I think I still have like an issue saying the word rape. Like it's still something that I shy away from. And I think it's something we spoke about, that it's such a taboo thing for men to say they were raped. And it shouldn't be, but it's just kind of how I think society feels like men are strong. It shouldn't happen to them. But it does. And I think throughout my years, the people I've encountered or spoken to about this that have said, I'm so sorry this happened to you, but it also happened to me, but we've moved on. It's like, okay, have we? So turning 30, I was seeing somebody, and I didn't realize how much trust meant to me. And like one small thing that was done that seemed kind of like untrustworthy kind of opened this memory I had and reignited all those feelings I had when this situation occurred. So when we started talking, first of all, I don't even know how I told you this story, because it's like not something I share so openly, but I felt comfortable enough to say it. And that was like the biggest step for me, was like, this is not something I think I can say it happened. Let's move on from it, because it definitely has its building blocks. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but it's something that doesn't go away. And I'm seeing the side effects, or like...
What are some of the side effects?
I definitely have an issue, like, dating, I think. I think I just don't know how to trust who I'm saying.
Do you find you still have the same, not still, but do you find you have the same trust issues even with friends and just other relationships
that 100%.
Are not romantic? Okay.
Yeah. I think it definitely affects every relationship. It stops you from doing a lot of things. And trauma, and it is a form of trauma. I think we were talking about it. Trauma is almost like Pandora's box. We're so good at kind of hiding it, but you can only hide it for so long. And I think now, given my last experience with this person, who was a very nice person, who was very kind to me, things just didn't work out the way I thought they would. But it triggered something in me. It opened that box again, and And it just made me relive a lot of things that I thought I had dealt with, that I had self-therapized, which is definitely not something I think that is a valid way of getting therapy or talking to someone, because you definitely need to let this beast kind of mend. It's quite interesting to me how, since I've been 20 and I just said, if it even opened a little, this box, I would say, it's okay. It happens to everyone. Move on. It'll close. And then now it just kind of is left open.
So you buried it, or you tried to.
Yeah.
Which is something that a lot of men do for anything, let alone something this big.
Yeah.
And when you say that you blocked it out, what exactly does that mean?
Just that, it happens.
So you just said to yourself, this happened?
Yeah, it happens more than you think, and it happened to you, so...
Just kind of trying to, justify it, I guess, in a sense.
In a way, yeah.
Mm.
And why do you think you did that?
It's weird to say that there was a lot of guilt on my end, and I think I blamed myself a lot for it, for putting myself in that situation. But now, with a more mature perspective on life, it was 100% wrong for me to take all this heavy baggage and blame on myself, because it's not something that I went out looking for. It happened, and I chose not to deal with it.
So if you can tell someone who may have recently, or not even recently, but someone who's gone through this, who might be still in that blocking it out phase, what would you say to them?
Seek help.
What kind of help?
Talk to someone. It's something that you should
like a therapist or a counselor.
Therapist or a counselor, or even, honestly, if you need to, a friend, because that was something I didn't do.
Do you find that you've been able to start to reconcile it? Like you mentioned, at first you took on a lot of the guilt, and now it seems like there's more self-awareness. Mm-hmm. Would that be correct, and like you're moving in that direction?
Yeah, I definitely have taken the time to sit with myself and kind of oddly relive what I went through, but this time relive it with family. That was a big thing for me.
When you told your family?
Yeah.
Was it the reaction you were expecting?
A little, I guess. It was not a good one. I mean, obviously not, but it was just I guess yes and no. My mom kind of was just taken aback as to how I could let that happen. But yeah, it was, I don't think, it was definitely not easy for them to hear that this happened to their son. Because I think in their mind and in the minds of a lot of people, this doesn't happen to guys.
Which is statistically untrue.
Yeah.
I saw a stat that said it was 25% of men, this was in the U.S., 25% of men in the U.S. have had some form of sexual violence. Mm-hmm. They've been a recipient of that in some way, which is a huge number when you think about it.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's quite interesting that we have the ability to kind of block it out, but there are certain instances that happen, or situations that happen that kind of reflect that situation you were in. So I don't know, somebody acting a certain way 10 years later, it's because they haven't dealt with what they've been through as like a child or a teen. Even like right now speaking, I like have the hardest time saying the word like rape or sexual assault. I always refer to a situation, which is...
Why?
I don't know. It's just like... And I think maybe it has to do with that whole stigma, is like it shouldn't happen to... Or not to say it should happen to anyone. It shouldn't happen to anyone, but I guess it's like, in some ways, I'm still in disbelief that it can still happen to someone like me.
Everybody always assumes it's somebody else, right?
Yeah.
When it hits you, it's hard to even imagine. You'd be like, was that even, was it me to even go through that?
Do you find... Maybe here, let me rephrase. The stigmas around men and men being subjected to this kind of violence, to rape and sexual assault. Why do you think there's still such a profound stigma around this?
I want to say, and I'm not stereotyping, but I feel like it's also kind of taboo for men to talk about things.
It's not a stereotype at all. It is.
Yeah.
We're not very good at it.
No, I feel like we haven't, in some way or form, haven't been taught to talk about our feelings. And I think we spoke about this on our trip, where it's almost like frowned upon to open up about your feelings. And I just feel like it's like...
How do we change that?
I don't know.
Like, how do you change the conversation and the narrative around men opening up more?
Just by talking about it more. It's one of those teach by doing.
So, like...
Just having a conversation. Instead of saying you should talk about this and this and this, just start talking about whatever that this is. Right? Same as it's not talking about situation, we're talking about, oh, this is how you should act or act. If you've been raped or in that situation, it's literally, this is what happened to me. And hearing somebody talk about it helps you relate. You might not be able to relate to that particular incident, but helps you know, you can see that the pain that you're struggling to get out, and it's like, okay, I felt that pain in something else. So you can relate to the pain, and seeing you be able to work through that pain, even talking about an incident that happened however many years ago. Even though I cannot relate to that, it's still like, okay, I know that feeling. So we have to always just keep talking about it so we can, help other people, I guess, talking about it too.
Like normalizing the conversation around these things.
Yeah. Making it, I always like to say, it's like trying to make talking about emotions cool. Like, just so it's like, it's casual, make it, and it's I find the only time we ever talk about, I guess, serious emotions, it's always got to be like a joke, which lessens it. And it's like, are they, everybody, has friends that you make those suicide jokes and stuff like that. And it's like, sometimes they are just jokes and sometimes they're not, so you never know,
Yeah.
But it's like, then it's like, where does things stem from? So I guess it's more being able to just talk about it, and like in a conversation, like, hey, like, what's going on? Honestly, man, it's not good. Like, and because when you say how you doing, it's always you kind of want to, good, especially when you're talking to your boys. It's like, good. Or like, if something's really bothering you in that sense, it's, oh, we didn't come for that, man. We kind of just chill. Like, when it's, I guess, opening up so you can just have that regular common conversation.
And what's funny is most of the time there's only like one guy in the group that doesn't want to have that conversation but becomes the most vocal, and then the rest would have been open to having that conversation.
It's also too in where, I guess, like the setting too. You're not gonna go to a bar and then be like,
or a Raptors game and have
right, right. But then it's also getting everybody up on board, because I guess, because when we don't really have that, we don't have the ladies' night. right? So it's not, we're not getting up to get like, and the main focus is to just talk, opposed to, I find every time I'm going out, it's to do something and we can talk in the meantime.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, okay, yeah, we're going out, like, this is, the purpose of this is to talk. And having enough of those, you will eventually peel back some layers.
Do you find that you've been able to like have these kinds of conversations? Like, I know you said that it's hard, like there's only so many people you've spoken to about this, but conversations in general around, you know, like how you're feeling, where your head's at. Do you find that like there's male relationships that are conducive to this? Like, just think back to like the relationships you currently have right now, right? Like, is there a group of guys that you can turn to when you're having a really shitty day and go, I'm having a shitty day today. I could use a friend.
Yeah, definitely. I have that circle. I also have that relationship with my parents. Like, it's definitely, I think coming out kind of also set me up for being able to have really big talks, especially if they're like vulnerable. But like, my dad is it's so funny because my dad is somebody that doesn't really talk about his feelings, but will talk about mine with him. Like, he is so open to what I have to say, or like how I'm feeling mentally or physically or anything. And he always gives an input. But the second I ask him the same question,
you don't get anything.
It's nothing.
How old were you when you came out?
21.
So which conversation was more difficult for you getting into? Telling them you're coming out, or this one you said? Because you said the response wasn't very good on this one.
Coming out was more like a journey. Because I first came out as bisexual just to kind of see what reaction I would get. And
but you knew you weren't?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, 100. I knew since Matrix 2. That was the gay awakening. But
I'm trying to think, what happened in Matrix 2?
Oh, I can't. I don't know if I can say it. But it involves Neo and Trinity.
Okay. Right. Okay.
But so when I came out as bi, I was given the option, pick one or the other. Either you're gay or you're straight. And
so you were told to pick.
Yeah. Because at the time, I guess gender fluidity, I guess being Middle Eastern,
it's hard.
It's very hard.
So that was
was
where my next question was going to come into, like the Middle Eastern cultural component of it all.
To be honest, I was even shocked I was given the option to pick, so I was like, okay. But I said I was straight. And I didn't quite... I just wanted to, I guess, get a reaction out of how would that be if I said I was into both. And then I went to school, and I went to school for fashion, and I knew there would be other queer people in this program. So my dad dropped me off at school, and I literally just looked at him. I said, by the way, I've thought about it. I don't think I'm straight. I'm 100% gay. And I walked out of the car, and I went right into the campus, and I just stood there, and the car didn't move. And I noticed my dad didn't drive off. But he didn't talk to me for 3 weeks.
How'd you feel after you said that?
In some ways, I felt really good. I just felt like a lot of weight was taken off my shoulders. But that was being at school. Being at home was a different story. It was more like, this is a phase. You're going to get over it. And that went on for like a good month. And I have a twin brother that I don't, I feel like give enough appreciation to, but he went up to my parents and was just like, gay or straight or bi, like, is that going to define him as a person? It's like, either you pick to keep him in your life, and if you choose not to speak to him, he will go off and you'll have nothing to do with him. And the next day, it was just like nothing had happened.
Wow.
And I thank him mentally in my head all the time.
Until he listens to this, and now it's very publicly thanking
And now
him.
he's just going to screen record this and shove it in my face every day. But it was slightly... I don't want to say they were the same. I feel like this was heavier.
Okay.
But in some ways, it like allowed me to be extremely vulnerable.
With your family.
Yeah. Which I'm not always. Like, I definitely have the title of Ice Queen at home. But there are moments where I'm not. But I think it's those conversations that kind of allowed me to want to tell them after, I don't know, 8 years. I just felt like it was time that I start dealing with this outside of my own head.
You lived with that burden for a long time. How did you reconcile the guilt that you said you felt?
I don't think I have.
So you still feel... Can you, if you're comfortable, maybe share a little more about why you feel guilty?
Yeah, I mean...
And remember, it doesn't have to make sense, because most of the time feelings don't.
I just feel like I made the decision to meet with this person, and I took myself from my room and I walked 20 minutes to meet with this person who I had given a set of rules to follow. I mean, to like, first of all, to agree with if he's comfortable, like, not doing certain things.
So you placed trust in him?
Yes.
That he would, yeah.
And obviously everything I've kind of brought to his attention was ignored. So yeah, I definitely take a lot of blame because I trusted somebody that I don't know. And I put myself in that position. So yeah, I don't really know how I would reconcile with the guilt. But one thing I don't do, I don't even know if they're two separate things, but I don't blame myself. But I have guilt for following through. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, I mean, like I can understand where you would draw the line between the two.
Yeah.
So what are you doing now for yourself?
Well, you have very heavily emphasized that therapy is very important, and it definitely is, and it's something that I always shied away from. But definitely seeking a therapist is like my first step.
It's a great first step.
Is it going to be a first step, or is it a step that started?
It's going to start. Like, I don't know, there's like such a resistance towards it, but I've known, like, since this day, like, this situation occurred, I definitely need to speak to somebody, but I don't know what's stopping me. Like, I have this, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I'm curious because you're coming on
Here.
And you're having this conversation, and presumably people will listen to it, and, you know, there'll be some form of, you know, reception to it in a very public way. But having a private conversation with a professional who has no interest but to support you and help you is where you find the resistance. And I think a lot of that stems back to men just generally resisting the idea of therapy.
I think it's just a lot of people in general, right? And obviously doubled, I would find, or even tripled, I don't know the number, but like, it's getting that I guess, fear?
I think it's a fear of diving in deeper with somebody that and I guess the word trust keeps coming up, but somebody that I am supposed to trust, but I have like such a hard time trusting.
But you also build toward that trust. It's not like first day is it's you know, walking through the park.
Yeah.
Right, during the day. Right? You don't have to hold hands and walk at night till you're ready to.
Right.
And that's the thing. So you can go, and it really is go at your own pace.
That's true.
Well, first, what does toxic masculinity mean to you? You had thrown that word around a lot. I'm curious to hear your definition of it.
My definition of toxic masculinity is somebody that is just someone who's just very narrow-minded to it's to feelings, just to like other people's feelings, to kind of making fun of another man who has the ability to be authentically themselves. I always feel like
be vulnerable?
I guess that's the word I'm looking for. Or who like laugh at other men for being vulnerable or being open with feelings, and just come off like robots. I don't know.
Yeah, we tend to not show very much in the way of emotions.
It's the full spectrum. Only a few.
Yeah.
Did you like high school?
No.
Why not?
All 4 years? Same school?
Yeah.
Hated all 4.
All 4.
Did you like high school?
It was okay.
I loved high school, man. But
my first couple of years were weird, and then I settled into my groove. I went to a high school where I was pretty much the only Arab kid there, and so it was always one of those, like, I can either, if I hung out with the Italian guys, then somehow the one Arab kid wanted to become Italian, and if I hung out with the Filipino crew, then I somehow wanted to become the Filipino guy. And I'm like, I'm just an Arab kid who just has friends from all walks of life. But it was weird. It was like an in-between. It started well, it got weird, and then it sort of leveled off towards the end.
I think as you get older, it's we don't talk about high school, I think, as much, and how like
impactful it is.
Because you usually talk as college as being the main impactful. High school really is very impactful in how you navigated through high school.
Yeah.
And if it was like, you know,
well, it's like it was my first experience going from a school like elementary school where I had known everybody essentially for 8 or 9 years, and then you go to a new school and there's all these people from all different schools coming together, and you're like, all right, well, now I got to make friends with a whole bunch of new people. And on top of that, hormones are kicking in, puberty's kicking in. You're trying to figure your life out. They're already asking you what you want to take in university, and somehow you got to figure out what you're going to do for the next 40 years. And all that's just added pressure. And then, like you said, there's the component of, you know, like, you can't show emotions. You can't, if you did that, then you'd be laughed at, or you'd be talked down to, or be bullied, or worse. I mean, we see that all the time now in the news. Like, how many of these school incidents are at the high school level?
Did you go to high school with your brother?
Yes.
Interesting. I always found, like, the twins were always, like, everybody knew the twins at a school, because there always wasn't many of them, right? And they were, like, celebrity status, kind of, in that world, I find.
Not at my school. No? Well, in my school, we were kind of like, we got bullied quite often, and I think this is I guess this is where I can say toxic men. Both me and my brother, we were not the sportiest, definitely more into the arts. And our school was very male dominated. There was but the men in our school, or the guys, were very into sports. It wasn't like a sporty school, but my brother and I, we would get I mean, I laugh at it now, but it's definitely not funny because I'm sure it happens to everyone. But we were kind of like the joke to most guys in our class, in our high school. The second we would walk into the caf, we would get food thrown at us. And I remember at one point somebody like put like Coke or some juice on the floor where I was standing, and he definitely did it on purpose because somebody saw. But I walked over and slipped, and so high school for me, I think, is like another part of my trauma that I've just learned to kind of ignore. I think I've gotten very good at doing that. But ignoring part.
Which is not good.
No. Like, I also remember somebody like grabbed my brother and pushed him against the wall and threatened to beat him up because my brother had more of a high-pitched voice than most guys. So I think there's just like, that would be my clear definition of toxic masculinity. It's just, if you don't meet the standards of the typical male, then you're just not worthy of being a man. But what is the definition of being a man?
To me, it's not just being a good person.
Yeah.
It's just not even...
We've had a number of definitions shared here. Like Dave Merhej, to him, he defined toxic masculinity as... Or sorry, not toxic masculinity. He defined being a man as simply just being able to support the people in your life, right? Financially or emotionally, just whatever it is, but just being a stable person that can support the people you care about. That to him was a definition of a man, and I like that definition. Tashawn, for example, talked about, just vulnerability breeds vulnerability, and that it's okay to have those conversations. And to the point earlier of like, how do you have more of these conversations, is you start by just talking about it. Right? It starts by sharing the story to say, I was a victim of, and then if, somebody stumbles upon this conversation and goes, I was in that position too, that, they can at least know that they're not alone. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that's the first step.
Yeah. And it's important too that to be in that stage, and it's like, yeah, I do know that I obviously, like, I'll say want to, because everybody needs to go to therapy, right? So it's not that even that you want to go, because you can see as much as you started to stop trying to self-therapize, and when you realize you wanted to grow more, it's like there's so many things that I need to uncover that you just realize no matter what I see on Instagram, no matter what, even like you always see like 6 things my therapist taught me that it's like, okay, well, when these things keep popping up, it's like, oh well, then I don't need therapy. I got a little bit here. I got a little bit here, right? But realizing that's not enough,
right?
That you knew that you need to go, and it's and showing that the struggle, like it's hard, like I want to, and it's just not knowing exactly where that resistance comes from, and it's hard to even get to there, because it's like, why am I so resistant into something that I know it's going to be beneficial for me,
right?
And it's to see from that point is it's always, because not everybody, but people will relate. People can relate to that, because obviously you're not the only person, right? And it's the same thing talking about these things. We'll be like, okay, yeah, I need to do.
Talking to a therapist is liberating.
Yeah,
like it takes off such a big weight. Right, it just allows you to, and the best part of it all is you're talking to a complete stranger, which, when you think about it, just in those terms, it sounds weird. But when you have that conversation with someone who doesn't know you and can't judge you and has no biases towards you, or doesn't know the friend of yours who went through this with you, right, or that, you know what I mean? Like, there's no connections. It's free. It's freeing. Do you do any journaling at all?
No.
Even just notes, scribbling notes or anything?
Actually, I'm lying. I have a full like my phone is filled with notes of just like thoughts or like even one worded, just like a sentence to kind of just sum up how I'm feeling. Yeah, that was a lie. I definitely have a full notepad in my phone.
Drawing or singing, dancing. Like, what is your release?
I do sing. Adele does a good job at helping me release a lot of things. I used to sing a lot. That's probably something I still do to kind of just ease my mind.
Whether like a creative outlet.
Yeah. But yeah, a friend of mine taught me, she was like, if you are feeling any sort of anxiety because of anything, whether it's a person or like a situation, grab your phone, write it down, but don't read it. Don't ever read it. Just write it down and and leave it. And I find that when you do that, and I think that she is a therapist, so but like I'd never talked to her about anything, and I think it's because maybe she's a friend, but that was like a technique she taught me. And at the time when I was going through when I was seeing somebody and they were kind of ending things, and like in the middle of the night when you would just like wake up from a thought that kind of just like was kind of triggering, write it down. I did find that it like took it away. But yeah, I would say like journaling, singing. I do like to sing.
So overall, how do we help? Maybe you have some thoughts on this. One of the things we're trying to do with this series is opening up the conversation towards more, to breaking down these stigmas a lot more. From your experience, your perspective, the conversations you've had, you've been a part of, you've witnessed, what could be done more to support men becoming better men?
So my brother and I have always loved the idea of being able to kind of in this setting gather whoever, just kind of do like a circle talk. Like I just feel like it just doesn't happen enough for guys, and but I feel like if it's like in a group setting and we're able to kind of talk about things and just show that it's okay to kind of be vulnerable, just being able to, I don't know, connect with other guys on this level, straight or gay or bi or whatever. It's so rare. I just feel like if there was like a way to kind of get everyone involved and just to do it and do it.
Yeah. More conversation.
Yeah. It's so interesting because even like when you think about talk show hosts or like The View or like shows like that, it's all women. Like you never see a group of guys doing that.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know.
So you think it's just like we're just going to have more of these conversations to normalize it, essentially?
Yeah.
Seeing more and more of them.
I feel like if there was like an example on like social or TV showing like a group of guys kind of just talking about raw feelings, it kind of would like trickle down to your regular...
The everyday person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just thought of it now. I was like, I don't really recall a talk show where it's guys hashing out what they like think about what's happening in the world or anything. It's always women focused.
That'd be an interesting concept. Are we on an idea here?
Write it down. It's written down upstairs.
Oh, listen. Believe it or not, we're coming up on an hour. It flies by.
It did.
Thank you for sharing with us.
Thank you for having me.
I know it's not an easy thing, and you expressed hesitation Rightfully so. It's your story. But I think for anyone who ends up listening to this, if they've gone through something similar, are going through something similar, or find themselves in a situation in the future, hopefully not, but in the event of, I think that they can take away some lessons from this, right? They can find ways to support themselves, and they should always, always, always reach out to someone in their circle who they can trust, because I'm sure you'd be the first person to stand up and yell, don't bury it, because it's not helping.
Yeah.
And I hope we don't treat that going to the therapy like the gym and keep saying I'm going on Monday.
No.
And I hope that you go. Not for me. Like I want to know, because I want to know, and I want you to be like, yeah, I want, and I'm like, yes. But like, obviously for you. And I say that because I've been saying to like a couple of buddies of mine, it's like, and it's hard. Like it's hard to try to push somebody towards therapy without it being like, yo, you're fucked up, you need therapy. It's just like, because I don't know, it's about like, I don't care. Like, you know, like you not going is not going to change my life.
Right.
But I know that it's going to change your life. And that's why I want you to go so bad. And like, and anybody who doesn't go, and it's just like, even if going through the process and even going to one and just to seeing if it works for you, right? Because like I said, it's just not always right away, but then it's just knowing that, and it's that excitement of knowing that, like, because it's only good come from it. And like I saw like your excitement when you said like I'm going to work on it. That even that, so it's not like okay, I gotta go. Like, you know, then that's when it's hard. It's like that's okay. Yeah, I want to go because I know it's gonna be good for me.
Yeah.
So.
No, I think it's nice when it's like an outside perspective rather than like at home, because at home it's like when somebody tells you to do something, you're like, okay. Yeah. But like when Samir was just like, I highly recommend it, and now when you're saying it, like it's just like, I shouldn't look at it as a bad thing.
Yeah, like it's a negative side. Yeah. It's like you know, it's like I have to. It's like no, I want to. I get to. Like I need to. And it's having people's reaction and being like, I've had people message me and going to therapy, like, yes. I'm like, let's go. Like, you know, it's like, let's go. Right? Opposed to, oh, what's wrong? Like, you know, and that's the worst thing. You don't want to be like going to therapy and be like, oh, what's wrong? Like, it's, no, it just was good. Like, the only response should be good. Good for you. I'm jealous. Like, you know, shit like that, because it's, I think that's part of it too, like having that negative connotation with it. So
let us know.
Okay.
I'll let you know.
Ashkan, thank you for coming.
Thank you so much, man.
Appreciate you sharing your story. Poncho, thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you, everybody.